signal.
Welcome everyone to not the first episode, but the promo edition of Fight IQ, the daily fantasy MMA podcast presented by RotoWire. I will be your host, your moderator, your instigator of the Fight IQ podcast, and I should not have the YouTube window open in another window, so it's a technical issue. If you heard that, I apologize. Daily Fantasy Sniper here, as I mentioned, your host, moderator, instigator for the Fight IQ podcast presented by RotoWire. Your analysts, our great analysts, co-hosts, we have Sun Tzu and Chris Olson. We are going to break down fight by fight, daily fantasy sports, DFS MMA contests right here on for RotoWire on the podcast channel. Guys, great to be with you. It's a few weeks in the making, but we are ready to go. Going to start off with UFC 223, and looking forward to doing this podcast in general.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I always love talking fights. I always love playing DFS, so this seems like a natural marriage for me. Joe, how we doing over there?
Well, I have been on quite the roll in just accumulating those triangle tickets and those other those $150 triangle tickets. And RotoWire is already making me money. I am so pleased to be part of RotoWire. The golf analyst helped me win a triangle ticket, an MMA triangle ticket, and I will be providing the color and as much off color as is allowed per the RotoWire guidelines. But I am excited about this card, man. We are going to have a blast.
So speaking of the card, we're going to give a little bit of a teaser, what you can expect week in and week out. UFC 223, the main event. Well, you might see a couple grown men cry because it is not Khabib and Tony Ferguson. Joe and I are still going to this card. We're really excited about it. But instead, we have Khabib Nurmagomedov against Max Holloway. Potential for a new champ as the 155-pound strap will be on the line on DraftKings. Khabib will cost you 9.1 thousand, Max Holloway 7.1, and I'm going to get the ball rolling here. I'm going to do my role in this is going to be just kind of guide you guys with just a little bit of where I'm thinking, and you guys will take it away. But I'm going to have probably about 95% Khabib in this one. Max has got all the heart in the world, but I think he's about to get smashed. How about you, Joe?
Well, I'm probably going to have closer to 98% Khabib. I'm a big intangibles guy, and the only thing I can think of is that Dana White chartered a plane and flew a shitload of cash to Hawaii to Max Holloway. Either that or he was promised both Ariane and Vanessa, because I don't see, all the intangibles are going against him on this fight. 6 days notice, coming off a severe enough ankle injury for him to cancel his last fight. From what I hear, this is the most weight he's ever had to cut. He's working with famed nutritionist George Lockhart, and this is the most weight he's had to cut, and this is to get down to 155. I also heard a rumor that he initially wanted this fight to happen at 170. So here's a 145er who's going up to 155 to fight Khabib, okay, who wanted to fight at 170. So that tells you how much weight he had to cut. I mean, he's got a lot of heart. I just, to me, everything screams Khabib. I thought Ferguson at least had a chance to win this fight. The weight cut, the injury, the 6 days notice, everything is just falling into Khabib's lap here.
He is a huge favorite, 9.1 thousand. How much are you going to have, Chris?
Yeah, I wish I could disagree, but I'm going to have to make it unanimous. We always go into every fight with a certain amount of incomplete information, because we don't exactly know what the guys are doing in camps. We don't exactly know what their weight cuts are like. But here, we just don't know anything about – the actual skills of the fighters almost don't even enter into it. When you consider everything that Joe just said about the weight cut and he was already injured and it's 6 days notice, there's nothing to like about Holloway here. That being said, our three mindsets could be a reason why you might go Holloway in a GPP somewhere just on a golden ticket. But if we're analyzing the fight, I think Joe said it best. I think it's got to be Khabib all the way.
Look, if you're mass entering GPPs, if you're going to max out the 150, $10 contest. Yeah, you want to have 1 to 2% Max Holloway. Just game theory says that because, Khabib could walk into a punch or a kick.
Sure.
It could happen, right? But I mean, if there's a reason to, to go with the favorite, all the intangibles, forget about the skills. Like you said, Chris, it's like we're not even really talking so much because everybody's saying, well, Max has such great takedown defense. Against who? Though? Not against a killer wrestler like Khabib. So, we can talk about the skills and how Max has got great takedown defense and how, Khabib, hasn't met someone he couldn't take down. But it really, the intangibles here are really the story. So I think if you're mass entering GPPs, have a little bit of Max. We're going to talk more DraftKings strategy when we do the main pod, but this is not a fight I would stack. I mean, I would not be stacking this fight in cash. I like Khabib in cash. I like Khabib in GPPs. He offers, believe it or not, he only offers a small amount of line value because, Zabit is first, and then comes Khabib. Although in salary it's Zabit and then Borg. So Khabib actually jumped ahead of Borg in lines value, odds value, and that makes sense. I mean, I don't see him necessarily jumping above Zabit because Bosniak is just not a good fighter, but we'll see. But right now he stands second in terms of odds, on DraftKings relative to the line.
Yeah, if you're going to have 98% Khabib, your 2% better be Max. This is a fight, and as well as the co-main. We'll talk more about this on Friday. By the way, the main pod will be Friday, tentatively scheduled for 4 o'clock here on RotoWire. On the YouTube channel, you can watch live. It'll also be on the podcast. But Friday night, we're going to do these as late as possible, all the information. The main event and the co-main for this card, to me, you better be all in on GPPs. Split up your exposure however you want for Khabib, Max, and Thug Rose, Joanna. But you better be all in, or maybe a sliver outside for game theory. But the scoring in those fights are going to be huge. So that's really what we're looking to do. We're going to go through in the main pod. We're going to go fight by fight, salaries, DraftKings strategy, some picks. I think I'll take the chance here to mention that I want to thank RotoWire for having us on. They do tons of content. The MMA content is free right now. They have plenty of premium content. You can get a 10-day trial by going to rotowire.com/free, I believe it is. 10-day trial, no credit card required. Our guy Sun Tzu over there is already profiting plenty off of that. But make sure you give us all a follow on Twitter. I am at the DFS Sniper, at Real Chris Olsen, at Sun Tzu. Joe and I, Sun Tzu, will be at the fights and the weigh-ins Friday and Saturday. Plenty of Periscope, looking lots of interaction, a lot of money on the line for UFC 223 on DraftKings. So that'll be it for the promo. Chris, you got anything you want to add before we see everyone again on Friday?
No, I think we pretty well covered it. I'm just really excited to get into this, break down some fights, and hopefully make us and some of the fans a little bit of money.
Hey, Joe, I know pre-talk we actually gone over a little bit of lines value. So how about just
I'll do 15 seconds of line values. First of all, I will say that 4 o'clock is Eastern Standard Time, at 4 p.m. So we are going on 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some line value. There has been some line movement on Rose Namajunas in terms of betting line movement. But in terms of DraftKings, it seems like right now the biggest value is on Rodriguez against Devin Clark. That line could actually flip.
My man.
There's small amounts of line value on Herrig, although that line is widening out a little. There's some line value on Pettis, and this is salary relative to betting line. Okay, there's good line value on Mocano against Qatar, and there is some line value on Durham. And as much as I hate to say it, because I don't see myself getting anywhere near this fight, there's actually a small amount of line value on Ashley Evans Smith. But I cannot see myself getting anywhere near that fight either way. She should win. But
we can have a fun conversation because I am going to play, and I have bet straight up Beck Rawlings.
Whoa.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh
plus
boy.
plus 170. We'll get into it more on the pod, but a little bit of tease. We're not always going to agree like the Habib fight. Ashley Evans Smith is a favorite in the UFC is bad shit crazy.
I don't get it. But no, I'm very excited, and I can't wait to do our first pod. And, again, we will, as we evolve, we will get, those fancy graphics that you see on our competitors' pods. But, right now it's just talk and value, and we're going to try to make everybody some money.
All right, guys, I'm looking forward to it again. At the DFS Sniper, at Sunsu, at Real Chris Olson. This will be the Fight IQ Daily Fantasy MMA podcast presented by RotoWire. We will see you 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time for UFC 223. Take care. See you Friday.
Howdy.